Before we get too far into it, this thing is so big I cannot show the entire train on my setup because I just don't have enough room to spread it out far enough to do that. So, yeah. Before anyone gets too excited, not that I think anyone's going to get that excited, yes, I am doing a proper toy video. This is the only one I've got in the pipe right now because this is the only new thing I've got outside of Nemesis Primes, so yeah. But maybe by the time you're watching this, we'll have figured out what's going on with those Nemesis Primes. For now, though, we are taking a look at Metal Cardbot Tyrant Zero. Yes, I got the thing. This is a very, very expensive Metal Cardbot figure. I understand that the MSRP is like a little more reasonable, but importing, not cheap. And the only reason I was able to do this was a combination of a couple of expensive things selling on eBay and Diana helping out because, long story, but essentially it's because of Diana and some really good sales timings with eBay stuff that I was able to get this. Otherwise, would not have been able to even afford it. That is also on top of the $50+ shipping fee, just the shipping for this thing. So yeah, not cheap. That being said, when this box showed up, I wasn't really mad about the $50 shipping fee anymore. Just the box for this figure is massive. Hopefully I'll remember to include a photo that I took, maybe a couple of photos that I took when this box first came in, but it is absolutely enormous. The figure is also absolutely enormous, but we'll get to that. Now, this is Tyrant Zero in train mode, and first off, let's take a look at the card, which doesn't look too bad from the front, and then is probably the most absurd one I've ever seen from any angle but the front. I know there are some cards that are technically as big or bigger and bulkier than this, but like, look at how far this thing sticks out. It's practically, like, it's almost the same length as one of the train cars. In fact, hang on a second, it is actually longer than Blast Train's engine. Yes, we're going to do a comparison with Blast Train. So yeah, I don't like the card. I don't like the card being absolutely enormous compared to everything else. It is clunky, it is in the way, but when we get to the different things that you do with this, I actually do like it, which is kind of a surprise for me. Now as for the rest of this stuff, I'm just going to try to blow through it pretty quickly because ultimately it's train cars, you know, there's not a whole lot to say. They all have the same generalized aesthetic of this white, black, metallic red, and gray, and it looks good. There's a lot of nice paint, a lot of details nicely picked out on all the train cars. They all do different things, and once again, the individual train cars are very big. Very, very big. So this is the caboose, or what is usually seen as the caboose. This is the second to last car. Unfortunately, this does kind of stink. There's screw holes on either side. There's no side to view this particular car from that doesn't make it look full of holes. That being said, I do appreciate how between all the different cars, they all follow the same basic, with obviously some differences due to engineering, but they all follow like the basic structure with this kind of like slight V shape going down in the center with like this dragon emblem in the middle. I don't know. I think that's cool. I like that they were able to have kind of a cohesive design for all the individual train cars. Like this one too. You can see it's got the same thing going on, though here you've got what kind of look like teeth on the edges. And yeah. And also these things sticking up. But for the most part, all the train cars are functionally the same. They're just sticks with wheels on them and they link up, but they are very big. Here is Tyrant Zero's engine. It is a bullet train But I do think it's really cool. I like how they did this, where they designed the front so that it looks like a dragon. Not just the little head crest thing here, but like the kind of jutting forward chin beard. It's very dragony. And of course, you've got the really nice design up front here, like a sort of stylized dragon emblem on the nose. You've got the somewhat reptilian lizard, dare I say, dragon-like eyes. It is neat. It is a really cool set, and this is, of course, because it's the engine, it doesn't follow the same pattern as the train cars, but you still have a little bit of this sloping here, which it doesn't go back up, but I think that makes sense because, you know, this is the front and it kind of comes to a point. It's a cool looking set. Everything has little connectors in various ways, so you can link them all up and they do roll together, but as I showed at the very, very beginning, this stuff is too big. I cannot fit it on my desk and show it all off in like when it's linked up. So I'm just kind of stuck. And now when I said huge, I meant huge. Keep in mind, Oviprime here is roughly the same height as your average modern deluxe. So this is gigantic. Putting Tobot v Wildchief there, you can see again, absolutely huge. And this is just one of 4 pieces. Since I did mention him briefly before, here is Blast Train. And like this is, again, it's kind of absurd. If I get Blast Train lined up with Tyrant Zero's train engine, like they're both, like their butts are aligned. Like, this thing is so much bigger. It is longer, but it's also a little bit taller and a little bit thicker. It weighs significantly more. Like this is just the core. This just becomes the core robot. This is heavy for what it is. Like so much heavier than this. And this is not a non-dense figure. Similarly, if I get this out of the way, this is one of Blast Train's cars, obviously. One of 2. As a reminder, Tyrant Zero comes with 3 cars, not counting the engine. And this is Tyrant Zero's train car, one of Tyrant Zero's 3 train cars. I'm hoping that it's starting to become really apparent just how much plastic you get for that rather steep asking price. Like there is a lot of toy here. And honestly, because there is so much toy here, I really kind of want to move things along. So we are just going to plow through and start doing some more stuff here. We will start by transforming the engine. So to begin, I'm going to pop these things off. They peg in here, and there's a clip here. So just pop those off and unclip it, and it comes right off. There's the little peg, there's the clip, there are the tabs. These are the spots where it pegs in. Let's take that off. Untab and unpeg this. Put that all off to the side. Now, you can hide the dragon eyes by just shifting this down, and it does click into place slightly, which is way better than what happens with Blast Train. Like, this is not going to come up on its own or go down on its own unless you like actually apply force to it, so I really like that. Now, going to very, very first thing, there are actually some pegs on these bits on the side here, so you want to lift this flap up. You definitely want to do that because you can kind of see the pegs there. This will hold all this down. And now these flaps can come undone. They kind of unpeg and untab from along here. And then they shift down on a double hinge. A very stiff double hinge. But they do shift down. And then this gray flap flips in and this will peg in there. And now, don't worry about this. Like, this is a little rough. I'm treating it like kind of delicately, not because I think it's going to break, but because I found out this does just come out. It's just pegged in, and it does hold, but it's great that it's pegged in actually like that, because that way you don't have to worry about breaking it if you pull wrong, but I don't like popping it out, so that's why I'm trying to be a little careful as I bring this down, just because I don't want to pop it out and have to pop it back in. But anyway, bring that down, flip that in, and now we will finish the lower body. So I'm going to take these bits here, swing them around, and you want to swing them down to around 90 degrees or so because there's this little crossbar connection that pegs into the train cars. So once you do that, you can unpeg the very obvious legs, And once those are unpegged, this flips in, and that allows you to flip the leg up the rest of the way, and it actually completely hides that, which I really like. And then flip out the toe and the heel on both feet. And to finish all of this up, you want to rotate the thighs. You kind of want to bring them out a little bit, just so you have room, and then rotate it around. And here you can see how it sticks in slightly when it's rotated this way, and then sticks out slightly rotated the other way, which is very clever, actually. It makes me think of Mecha Invasion Giant Legion in how they just were really clever with the engineering for those parts. I just like how that gets the thighs aligned better for the robot mode without actually doing anything complex or using sliders or anything. Anyway, this can come down, these can come down, and another interesting thing that this does, this fancy panel up here can actually grip on the sides here and pop this up. That does clip into place. There's a little clip there, tab there, and this rotates 180 and comes back down and pegs into this panel to create this kind of butt skirt. And what's so cool about this to me is the fact that this panel coming around is what locks the waist in place. So it keeps this from being able to rotate when it's in the train mode, which I think is really cool, really well thought out. Okay, now things are getting more complicated. So you want to pull out these wheels. They just kind of, there's like a slot here, a little slot right here that these slide into, but pull these out. Can pop the arms out, and these will tab into the back here. And then with these popped out, I just like to bring them out a bit because that gets them out of the way. And once they're out of the way, I can rotate all of that around 180 degrees. And now these bits are going to be facing forward, so just going to rotate the arms so that they're oriented properly. Rotate wrist around, close the fingers. And from this side, I'm going to bring that down, rotate it, and then rotate the hand around, close the fingers. And I'm going to keep these out like this just for a little bit more clearance for the last couple of steps. So I'm going to take the entire front of the train, the entire nose section of the train, disconnect it, and it rotates around 180 degrees. I just want to be careful of the little antenna things. That rotates around 180. I want to keep it up so that way we can pop this door open back here, which will reveal the head. Flip the head up. I guess you don't have to do this at this point, but I'm doing it anyway. And then clip that back shut. Now, I want to take the lower chin bit. This whole thing kind of disconnects. And for this, for the core robot mode, you've got a double hinge here. You want to bring this forward a click and bring this down a click. And we'll do two. So 2 clicks on both. Make sure that this hinge is 90 degrees, and this is going to come down, and it's going to settle in here and like peg into the midsection, but it's not actually going to do that yet because we want to split the nose, bring these bits out, and now these flaps on the side rotate around 180, and it is 6 pseudo soft clicks to do it, in case anyone's wondering the number. Also, when you're rotating these, you want to look out for these, because if these are rotated too far down, they'll get in the way. So they were fortunately at the right angle that I didn't have to worry about that, but just something to be aware of. But now that these are rotated around, this can come down, and it will peg into place down here, and with the 2 clicks, this is all aligned properly. These bits just come up 1 click, and these will just be like that. And now the arms can come around and they will plug in here, and also these wheel sections, they just flip around. So peg that in. From this angle, rotate that back around so the wheels are pointed up, peg that in. And there in the most basic of senses is the core robot, but we do have a little bit more to do with these. So for these, you want to bring these unpainted gray bits out so that it's like 90 degrees and rotate this piece. What I tend to do is rotate it so that this flat edge here is sort of parallel to this gray piece, but you could do it however you want. But I just do this for like the attaching. And then for this one, also just bring that out so it's 90, rotate that so that it's more or less like that. And then around the back, you've got these 4 clips on the back, and these posts here that just clip in to the back on either side. And then from here, you can kind of adjust them. Usually I'll like bring them down a little bit, but they can like angle out however you want, and that gives him these like pseudo wing designs that look pretty cool. And yeah, that's the core robot. I say again, the core robot. This thing on its own is quite large, and it looks incredible. Like, like just as a core robot, this is super cool. I really like how the nose of the train doesn't stick out too far because a bunch of it kind of splits open and becomes shoulders. There's these really nice details that are, if not revealed, then given new context with the robot, like the really ornate sides of the front make these really cool shoulder designs. I also really like these little red bits that are revealed once these pieces swing out. I don't know, I just think that's a neat detail. Kind of makes me think of the White Tiger Zord from whichever season of Power Rangers it was. This bit here that was like the chin of the dragon is a surprisingly ornate codpiece, which is a series of words that I just said. It looks neat though. I don't know why. I like the 2 little orbs that are slightly different sizes stacked on top of each other. It's a neat detail. The thighs are very nice and ornate in gray and silver. The shins are really cool, though none of this is new. The feet, I actually think the feet are really cool too. They're like dragon talons, which makes a lot of sense given the aesthetic of this guy. So it's all super duper cool. And then even on like the sides of the arms, like these arms are surprisingly cool. This is like knight gauntlet stuff with like this really ornate, like, I don't know why this kind of feels like a Power Rangers Mystic Force kind of detail for some reason, even though I've never watched Mystic Force. It just has this almost like a dragon head, if you squint at it, simplified design to the gray piece with this big red orb in the center. Or not orb, but you know, the design. It's very cool. This is an incredibly cool design and is also shockingly clean for what it is. It's very cool. And also, if you want to, you can push these back a little bit, which I do think looks pretty neat, though it will get in the way of shoulder articulation a little bit, but they kind of do anyway, so whatever. And they're not really, like, they kind of settle into this position. They don't really settle into this position, but they don't, like, flop out either, so you could leave them like that if you want. It does look cool. So yeah, this is a super, super slick design. And speaking of super slick, that head sculpt is really, really intense. This is definitely the meanest Hello Cardbot head sculpt I've seen. Well, second meanest, but we'll get there. It looks very... I mean, it sounds cliche to say demonic, but like these kind of mustache horns, just the way they're kind of segmented, just reads demonic to me. And like the angles too, just something about the way they kind of curve around and then in and then back out at the end. That just, it's very like modern depictions in video games of demons in my mind. And then of course you've got the angry looking mouth plates, chin guard, whatever. The face is basically all black with these very piercing metallic red eyes. This guy looks very angry and very, very cool. Articulation is also a place where this figure is no slouch. So the head is on a ball joint with the ball going down into a socket in the torso. You've got some decent side-to-side rocking, some really nice up and down, and can rotate 180 degrees. So lots of nice motion there. The little winglet things can rotate as well as flap back and forth to a certain degree. So those are great, and they do get out of the way for the most part. So you've got some control there. The shoulders, you kind of do need to get these out of the way, but the arms can go out to almost 90. They don't want to stay at a full 90, but they go out to almost 90. They can go pretty much all the way around, although these bits do get in the way. However, in addition to being able to like rotate these if you want and like move them around this way, there's actually a hinge here you can use to bring them up. So if this helps for forward articulation, you can totally do that. It kind of doesn't really, unless you get really extreme with it, and that just looks silly. But it's still something you can do. I don't know if you can... No, you can't really bend it forward that much because this is getting in the way. So yeah, the forward motion on the shoulders is a bit hindered, but I feel like you can still kind of work around it. The biceps do swivel. The elbows are double jointed, which is something, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't expect. I certainly wasn't expecting it until I saw them, but like they're double jointed and they go up pretty darn far. As shown in the transformation, you got wrist swivels, and then the fingers do open. They're detented slightly, so you can get 3 clicks, and they're all the fingers are on one piece. But like, that's cool. There is waist articulation as shown in the transformation, but you can't really use it because of this piece here. If you wanted to, you could bring this forward, and that allows you to access the waist swivel, though this sticks out kind of awkwardly, but I feel like you could probably make that work. So you do get waist swivel, but it is also kind of hindered just because of the way this is designed. This obviously can move up if you need it to get out of the way. This can move back if you need to get it out of the way. These can move off to the side, and also because of the way that they're attached, they can swing forward and backwards. So if you want these at an angle, you can do that too. But that gives you access to the hips, and the hips can go very, very strong ratchets for good reason. Can go forward to 90, back to almost 90. I don't want to push it because this flap is in the way, but back pretty well. I can go out. I'm assuming if I get everything out of the way, yeah, it can go out a little bit past 90. The thighs can rotate, though you do need to bring the hips out more if you want to rotate further, just because of these bits on the sides here. But you can rotate all the way around. It's very nice and clicky. The knees are double jointed, so you can get slightly past 90, just because of everything here. It's kind of crashing. I don't want to try and force it, but yeah, you get a little bit past 90, which is still good. And you don't get ankle articulation. You can kind of move the heel down, you can move the toe down. You don't get ankle articulation, but the toes do actually swivel. So you can use that to fake ankle articulation, and also it still gives them a nice solid base. So he is quite posable, both for a metal cardbot figure and for a big guy in a Korean transforming robot series. There is still so much to cover just for this, but I'm going to do size comparisons now. So as I said, the core robot is enormous. So as a reminder, standard modern deluxe height, Tobot v Wild Chief, Tyrant Zero, whatever the core robot's called, it's gigantic. Remember how Blast Train's core robot was no slouch in the height department? Well, there's Blast Train's core robot. It's not even close. And for a couple more just straight up robot comparisons, Metal Cardbot Blackhook and Tacky. Again, he's so big. But Rob, I'm pretending I hear you say, that's just compared to a bunch of small metal cardbots. What about some of the bigger ones? Well, here he is with Solid Horn, and even with the helmet on, he and Solid Horn are basically the same height. Yes, Solid Horn's silly little crane arm goes higher, but like, he's practically the same height as a copolymer combiner, and he is just the engine of the train. And just for the heck of it, here he is with Mini-Force Rex Kaiser, and he is actually taller than Rex Kaiser. So yeah, Tyrant Zero, or Tyrant -1, I don't know what we want to call this guy, is very, very big. He is not the only part of this set, though. And we do want to, well, I guess we don't want to, but I need to real quick talk about his card. It's got card, it's got image on front. This pops off and then turns into GI Wonder. Very simple to unpack the card. You just pop, there's like a little tab here that goes into the back of GI Wonder what that is. And there's like a tab down here too. So I'm being careful because there was a little bit of paint slop on mine when I got it, and I ended up going over it with a paint pen, and that's probably not dry yet. So I'm just being careful not to touch that because I don't want to smudge it. But that disconnects, and then all of this swings around, and this clips into here. The tail, whatever this is, can angle however you want. The little feet rotate down, the head rotates round, and then the front feet can come down with these bits kind of going out and then rotate the feet around, and there we go. So there is the card critter is a dragon. It doesn't really do much, but it's a dragon. All of these different segments are posable, but they're only posable in like the up and down way. You can't really get dynamic with this. It looks good. The black and metallic, or really dark gray rather, and metallic red is a fantastic look. I actually really like how you've got the dark gray for the main plastic and then this very shiny metallic. It's not metal, but a very shiny metallic coating on the horns. That's super cool. There's even like a little bit of light gray on the snoot, which I just like the contrast that adds. You can open the mouth. You can spin the head like that. That's kind of really all you can do with the articulation on this thing. And I don't really like this. Like, it's fine that it's here, kind of, but like I don't really like this that much. But this does actually have some cool utility for this guy. So first thing to do is rip the head off. Sorry, buddy. There we go. It just pops off this little nubbin here. And then you actually can fold the nubbin down and then just kind of collapse the arms back into their previous position. These can rotate the claws and get them out of the way. And next, going to bring this up, take this, there's like a double hinge here. You kind of want to hinge this back like this. So that way these obvious tabs here don't have anything in the way. And then this will just stay like that. The winglet things you want to pop off, but these can actually be used for other stuff. If you straighten these out all the way, they become swords. And there is a tab on the inside of the hand that there's like a little slot on the handle, so you can just line that up. You can do this in a way that you can see. Line that up and peg it in, close the fingers around it, and now he's got a sword, and then we can do the same exact thing with this and give him other sword. And now he has two swords, yay. So those don't go to waste. But in addition to that, you take all of this, and these pegs will go into the 4 clips on the back. And just kind of chunk in. I kind of like to flare the shoulders out a little bit so they kind of look like mini wings. And then for the dragon head, this nifty little red circle, semicircle in the chest can actually flip down, and it reveals a little nubbin that's very much like the nubbin that the dragon head was attached to. So you just pop that in place, and I like to bring this back up just to clean it up a little bit. And that's really silly. It just kind of looks like the dragon is like passing through him, but I also don't hate it. And you can of course adjust like the angle of the tail a little bit, but like, I don't know, I don't hate it. It wouldn't be my favorite thing though, but this isn't actually the only thing this does. It's the only thing it does for the core robot, but like, yeah, I don't know. I don't hate it. It's silly, but it's fine. I would never display him like this just because the tail takes up too much space, but it's fine. And now there's all of the other crap that this does. So, okay. To start, we'll do the simplest one. This one, the caboose section of the train. You want to fold up the little train catch thing, and this one here folds down. This piece pops out, rotates 180 degrees, and pushes back in and clips into place on the bottom. Same deal here. Clips in on the bottom. And now, this is, I think, pretty wild. This whole thing splits open, like so, and then you want to kind of pull up slightly to swing these bits out. And like clearly, this gives them wings, but this looks a little awkward. But like this is designed specially so that there's a hinge in the center. This whole thing flips up and clips and pegs into place. So now it's just like kind of a contained wing pack. That's just really cool. And you'll notice there are these 4 clips here that line up exactly with the 4 pegs rather, that line up exactly with the 4 clips on the robot back. And this, you do want to bring these little wheels on the shoulders up just to get them out of the way, but this will clip into the back, and you can bring these back down, and that gives him like a flight pack. That's very Gao, honestly. Like slapping Stealth Gao on the back of Galeon. I'm having trouble with names right now, but I don't know, just it makes me think of some of the functionality with Gao. I think that's neat. I like this. I, again, don't display them like this, but I like this. And now this is actually going to stay exactly as is for the rest of it. We're just going to put this off to the side. So nothing about that transformation changes. Before I forget, there is one more thing you can do with the swords. If we take them both out of his hands, we can actually combine these bits and make one really big sword. And since there is a handle on both sides, this can peg into either hand and just give him a really big sword. And that's super cool. This one, the one with all the screw holes, pops apart. And transformation on these is surprisingly complex. Not too complex, just more than you might think. The little catch flips up. This flips down. First thing you really want to do before transforming any of this is you want to take this ornate thing here and flip it up. I find what I like to do is I just kind of push here or brace here while pulling up this way and I try to put more force here than here because I don't want to like pull this and like loosen anything, like loosen the connections too much over time. So I'm kind of mostly applying the force here. So once that gets on disconnected, just bring this up about 90 because that gives you the room you need to take these wheels and untab them. But again, you just want to kind of bring them out temporarily. Now, these flaps on the side come out and they actually click out to about 90 degrees. And then you want to bring these wheels back in because you'll notice there are these little grooves on these cylinders here. When you have this in like this, it locks that in place. When you bring it around like this and bring it back in, it locks these in place at 90 degrees. So you want to do that. Then take this bit here, this big gray bit. There are these squares on either side. You want to pinch those in, and that brings down these little catches, and that allows you to bring these down, and that locks this in place. And with that done, now you can rotate this 90 degrees, take this piece, swing it down, and there's a tab here that will plug into this slot down here. And then there are these little wheels here that actually snap into place if you bring them down to like 90 degrees. And then this piece here will go down all the way. And for this one, that's all we're doing. For this one, it's mostly the same thing. However, the key difference here is you need to get these little bits out of here. And that just folds out like that. And from here, that just folds out. And now you've got these little bits sticking off like that. And you want to clip everything together. So these will clip in like with like. And yeah, he has a surfboard. It's just a surfboard. There are actually little peg holes on the bottoms of the feet that peg into those pegs on the side there, and it's surfboard. It's Transmetal Optimus Primal surfboard silliness. It's a thing you can do with it. They engineered it to do this. I'm not a huge fan, but it's an option. It does peg into his feet. Anyway, I'm going to turn this back into a train car. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the fact that the gigantic train villain guy, I'm assuming villain, is basically a playset, but the surfboard is silly. Anyway, for this last one, you want to pop this apart, and this is basically all transformation stuff that we're going to be getting into for the other bits anyway, so pop that apart. This little hitch here pushes in, then this flips up. Now for orientation, the best way to remember how to rotate this is this design here, this little baseball diamond, chevron, whatever, the arrow's pointing down. That's how you know you got it right. So like this, that rotates up. This will come down, this comes down, rotates around, and then this will slide out and bring a big old fist with it. And then you can unfurl the fingers to get the thumb out and then refurl the fingers. And for this particular thing, you want to take this piece, rotate it around 180, and bring it back down. And then this bit up here, you want to lift this up and swing it around like that. And then for this, same deal, push that in, flip that up, rotate that around with this pointing down. Bring that out. This can slide out. This can come down and angle and open this up to get the thumb out and then curl it back up. And there we go. Now for this guy, we are going to do mostly steps involved in like getting this guy set up for his core mode. So I'm going to unpeg this and bring this back around. Bring these bits back so that they're level and pinch all this back around so that it's just the front of the train, and then this can come back down. And that is it for the shoulder stuff. And now for the arms, going to bring these around, and basically what you want to do is you want to rotate them so that the clip and peg on either inside of the forearm is pointed in, so that they'll, when they come together, they'll peg together. You also want to rotate the hands so that the palms are basically facing up, because that's where the elbow is, and then open up the fingers. And then you actually want to angle the arms back as far as you can, because you're going to need that space. So do all that, bring this together, and they will clip into the back, but they will also clip into each other. And then these wheels can come back down like that. And now this is why you want those arms back, because otherwise this is going to get in the way. So that gives you as much room as you can get with the arms out of the way. I guess you don't really need to open the fingers, so we'll just leave them closed. But there we go. And now these come in and clip in everywhere. You've got peg, these 3 pegs here, 2 clips here, 2 pegs here, 3 clips here. So that all comes together and clips in way more securely than it looks like it should. So there's that. And then this one comes in and clips in again, like way more securely than it feels like it should go. And this is the, I don't know, like big arms mode. It's a thing. It's whatever. Now, again, like I had my doubts with this connection with these arms, especially in the big mode, but these hold on shockingly well. Like, I actually found the best way to take them off is to leverage them down. Because they like to pop out pretty easily if you leverage them down, but any other direction, they actually stick on really well. So you don't have to worry about these popping off easily. Okay, so now let's do the big thing. So to do the big thing, we're going to finish prepping this guy for his core mode. We do need to undo the arms a little bit. And we need to undo them so that we can bring them out more. Bring these up. Bring this up. And rotate the entire upper body around 180 degrees. Then this comes back down. But before we do that, we want to angle this up at like a 90-degree thing. So the hinge just kind of goes like 90 degrees. And then this comes back down and in. And this was out of alignment. There we go. So that comes down. There you can see how it's going like down, like 90 degrees. So there's that. All of this is fine. This comes down. The arms can now come back together and peg back together just like they were for the big arms mode. This, you don't have to keep them like that. You can kind of bring them back down. It's fine. And then for the legs, the only thing you really need to do for prep is take the shin knee pieces and rotate them down 180. And that is all the prep we're going to do for now on the core robot. The other bits are already done, so all that leaves is this. As a reminder, this became the surfboard. But to make it the thing that's not the surfboard, I'm going to split it apart, fold this up, fold this down. Again, you want to leverage this piece up about 90 degrees, pop this open, and this time it comes down all the way, and this will clip in down here. That'll allow us to open these up. Again, push these in so you can bring this down and lock it in place. Bring this around, tab that in place, and then the wheels, instead of bringing them down, you just push them up like that to get them out of the way. This can come up the rest of the way, and then this rotates 180. And the easiest way, like there's no real, like you can put either one on either side, but for me, I have the screw holes facing in. So this is going to be that side. And this one, same deal. Okay, now we just have to put everything together. So, for the legs, what you do, let's bring these up again. One thing I didn't do just because of balance, you want to bend the lower hinge of the knee 2 clicks, and then bend the upper hinge 2 clicks in the opposite direction, so now the leg's going at this weird angle. It'll make sense. So then you slide this in here, and the heel will just go through this opening here. And then this peg here will clip in on the inside of the leg here. And there are these little holes, so you can kind of see them, these little peg holes here. And there are these little spring-loaded nubbins on the sides of this thing that go in there. So everything comes in and clicks and snaps in place. Then with the toe straight, you bring it down and it'll kind of click in place there. And when everything's lined up, these panels will come around and easily clip into the sides and give you one very big and cohesive leg. And this is why you want that hinge angled like that, because if you don't, then it makes them slightly taller, but it changes, like it shifts the center of gravity further back, which just kind of makes things want to lean a little bit more. So do that, and it looks better. It makes him sturdier. It brings the thigh a little bit closer to the knee. It just works better. And then again, yeah, same deal for this. Slide it in. Snap everything together. Get the toe down, bring these around, clip everything in place, and we'll just give those a little click. And there we go. Legs. You all have no idea how sweaty I am right now. All right, we're going to bring this back in, the wing pack. Before we attach all of this, it's actually going to attach with this side facing out. So we're going to need to attach it using this side, but in order to do that, we need to take this conspicuous piece, pop that off. This is a very dedicated spot for it, so this pops off. And now this will go onto the back. But the easiest way to do this, or rather the best way to do this, is not to actually slap this on the back, because this doesn't solidly peg in on its own. What actually happens is there are these little tracks here that slide into these bits on the backs of the big arms. So this will slide in like that. And like that. And now this kind of sandwiches around the torso. But even that is going to be tricky to show, so we'll see how this goes. Effectively, what I do, or literally what I do, is I undo this. Just undo the whole thing. And the reason I do that is because when you do that, it allows these to come out. And that just gives you more room to play with when you want to sandwich this around the center. So this comes in, and there are these two little divots here and here, and these two little pegs here and here. And those two little pegs sit in there. This is not a secure point. It's more of like a guiding thing. So when those are in place, you know you're in the right spot. But once those are in place, then you can bring these around and they clip in just like they did for the core robot. You just want to be careful of those tabs down there. But these will clip in like they did for the core robot. There we go. It's just a matter of angles. So those peg in, and they clip in very securely again. And now this can come up and sandwich back together. I'm hoping my voice is coming through okay, because I'm standing doing all this. For the last bits, the sword, you want to disconnect the handle and bring this back down and into kind of the configuration the halves were in when attached to the side of the train. But you want to leave them connected like this, because these four pegs back here will go into these four smaller clips down here on the back of the wing pack, and they become kind of like a, I don't know, like an ornate butt flap. It's a place it can go, at least. And while we're doing this, gonna just bring all that back around, because honestly, he doesn't need the guns. And finally, there's a big peg here with the red plastic with the screw through the middle, and then these two littler, smaller peg holes here. The peg goes into the big old hole on his forehead, and the smaller peg holes go around the two little pegs around the front of the cheeks. So that all pegs into place. And there we go. And to finally cap this off, I'm going to raise the wings up 2 clicks and take the very nose of the train, and it will actually fold down. And there we have Tyrant Zero. I am so sweaty. There is Tyrant Zero. He looks incredible. And actually, there's one other thing I like to do. I like to take these and bring them up 2 clicks, because I just like having the slightly more dynamic angle to the shoulder pads. But yeah, there's Tyrant Zero. He is absolutely incredible. He is also very big and very heavy. The weight's not going to come through in video. There's no way to do that. Size will when we get to size comparisons, but just look at this thing. It is amazing. It's wild that, like, when I first saw like photos of this guy, I thought that looks great. And then I saw the first color photos, like the renders, and I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about the primarily white with black and silver and red accents. And then watched some videos and was kind of like, I still don't know how I feel about the primarily white color scheme. But no, it's utterly amazing. There is so much detail crammed all over this guy too. Like the wings are just covered in, like, you got the white, black, red, and silver. The shoulders, just everywhere. Everywhere is covered in detail, and it looks so cool. I feel like this is a Nova Prime thing, right? Where he looks extremely regal and majestic, and is also scary and evil. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's not a bad guy, but I feel like with a name like Tyrant Zero, he probably is. So the head is the same head that the original Cardbot had, just now he has a mask on. But the mask makes the head look a little bit bigger from the front. And honestly, it doesn't look all that wrong from the sides. I feel like it's a decent size to, like, make everything work together. Like, the mask isn't so big that it doesn't look like it fits, and the head isn't so small that it mismatches. The mask itself is done in this plastic with, like, a really nice metallic coating, like the dragon horns and whatnot, and it's... the visor makes me think of, like, a Kamen Rider thing, like the segmented visor eyes. I don't know. But it's a really cool design. It's very, I want to say, like, Kabuto looking, obviously, like, with the horns, but it's supposed to be a dragon, because, you know, he's a dragon. But, like, this is a really neat-looking mask, neat-looking head, and I have no idea how well I'm going to be able to show off articulation with this thing, just because of the way I've got to stand to do this, but the head is the same ball joint from before, so you got the same range of motion, basically, though I don't know if you can go... Oh, no, you can go all the way around if you're careful. With the mask on, so that's good. The arms, you want to bring the shoulders down just because the wings can get in the way, but the arms can go around. The shoulders, the shoulder pads can get up and out of the way. The arms can go out to 90, and you don't even have to bring the shoulder pads up all the way to do that. You've got the gun functionality if you want to use it. You got clicky bicep rotation that goes very clicky, very around. 90 degrees of elbow bend. The fists rotate, and they do click, so they rotate. The fingers are individually articulated. The thumb is on a ball joint, but the way it's cut, you can't go out this way. You can only go up and down this way and, like, rotate. So it's a little limited, but it has motion. And then the fingers are, each one is one piece, but they do articulate individually. The only thing that bugs me about the fingers is they look a little bit too long and spindly for my liking when they're open. So I just leave them in fists. Okay, now for the rest of the articulation. Again, because of this coming down and, like, pegging all this together, you don't get any waist articulation. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, you can untab it, so you can still untab it and get, like, a click. I don't know if it looks great because this comes with it, but you can kind of fudge it. For the legs, as you could probably imagine, with all of this in the way, you're not going to get a whole lot of forward motion. Like, I guess you could probably bring this stuff up to get it out of the way a bit. And because of how secure those ratchets are in the hips, it holds pretty well. But again, like, you can't really go to 90 just because of all of this stuff in the way. But the knees can bend to 90, which I feel like, given the absolute gigantic bulk of this guy, a 90-degree knee bend is totally fine. And for the feet, you basically get one click of ankle. You can rotate the feet too. However, you can't really rotate the feet with the ankle tilted. It just doesn't work. So you can rotate if the foot is straight, or you can get a single click of ankle tilt. Which again, size, bulk, weight, I think that's fine. And in case anyone's wondering, the sword. I have not had much luck with this because the problem is the hands, it's hard to see, but the hands don't have, like the palms don't have a tab in them to actually hold this. And the fingers are a little too beefy to go through this opening. Like if you pop this open, it should work. So you just kind of thread this around, close the fingers around, close the thumb around, and like he can hold the sword, but it's not very secure. And if I try to connect this, it doesn't feel great. Like it feels like the plastic's bowing a bit, and it actually, the last time I did this, it ended up like separating the blade apart. So yeah, unfortunately, in this mode, even though the giant sword makes the most sense for it, he can't really effectively use the giant sword. Maybe if you just did something like this, I feel like that would look silly, but and he doesn't hold it well because he doesn't have any tabs, but it's technically doable. It just isn't great. Okay, yes, I know we still have the card thing to go through, but final round of size comparisons because he's not gonna get any taller. So yeah, this guy is, as I said, huge. Like the core robot on its own is absolutely huge, but like look at this. This is ridiculous. The deluxe is like what, up to his shin? The smaller metal Cardbots, Blackhook and Tacky, are again so small compared to this guy. Keep in mind the core robot was basically the same height. The core robot was basically the same height as Solid Horn. Bring in Solid Horn. Well, he just makes Solid Horn look like a kid, doesn't he? And of course that means he's going to be significantly larger than Rex Kaiser. But Rob, I'm again pretending to hear you say, what about the really big Metal Cardbot figures? Well, Heavy Iron W, that do anything for you? He is still bigger and bulkier than Heavy Iron W by a not insignificant margin. Don't think I forgot about Blast Train either. We were doing the combined mode for Blast Train, and Blast Train is huge in his own way, but like he looks almost laughably tiny next to this thing. It's kind of absurd. And at this point, there's really only one other big comparison that I can make that I think people want to see, and that is Grand Blue Leon. And Grand Blue Leon... And Grand Blue Leon is not taller. Tyrant Zero is basically a full head taller than Grand Blue Leon. Now, something I want to point out. Grand Blue Leon is made up of two individual figures. Granted, 70% of the combiner is one big figure, and then the rest is like the small figure, but still, this is two figures. The reason I'm bringing that out is not because of the height difference, but because of the mass. Grand Blue Leon is not light. Like, picking this guy up, there is some noticeable heft, because, you know, it's two figures, it's a lot of plastic. Tyrant Zero, though, this thing feels significantly weightier. There's a lot. Whether or not that makes the rather intense price of this guy worth it to you is, you know, it's up to you. But I will just reiterate, what you are paying for is a lot of plastic, a lot of dense, heavy plastic, a lot of playability, as we saw, and he's just gigantic. But we're not done. We still have the dragon bits. So for this, we're going to take the dragon and kind of straighten this bit out and fold out the little nubbin again. All of this we'll just kind of straighten out for now because I can never remember how to do this when it's together. But now you want to split it down the center and it will pop apart all the way down the middle. And now for these bits, you want to rotate everything around so that it's going in. Whoop, not like that. Rotate everything around so that it's going in a curve like that with the plates kind of going out. And then this hinge, you want to bring it back as far as it'll go. So all of the red bits you want curling in, and then this one curling out. And then for the last bits here, you actually want them straight. And then for this, what I typically do is rotate the arm around this way so that this tab is facing up here, just because that's the easiest way for me to orient it, and this doesn't feel like it's crashing into this, because that is a thing that I noticed with some of this. But anyway, you want to do this, and then for this one, it's the same deal. Just curl all the red bits in as much as they will go, bring this bit out as far as it'll go, make sure this is straight, and rotate this around so that that tab is kind of up, so that that tab is kind of up and perpendicular with this, or parallel rather, with this. Okay. I'm going to attach these. The way this works is you've got clips here and here. We're not going to do anything with the one at the very end here, but like these two clips here, and you've got these pegs here, and you've got two clips here, and two pegs here. And again, we're ignoring that peg at the very end. And you just line them up and click them in. And what I prefer to do is I brace the backpack with one hand just because I want to make sure nothing like flexes or potentially pops out. I've never had it happen. I'm just being cautious because I don't want it to happen. Come on, peg in. Come on. There we go. Okay. And lastly, we do the thing we did for the core robot with the dragon integration, which is flip down this little nubbin and pop the dragon head into that spot. And it actually pops in pretty easily. I'm just doing it at a weird angle. There we go. And then what I prefer to do, I don't know that this is necessary, but what I prefer to do is I just open the mouth all the way because I feel like this really works with the layering that's going on here. So I just do that. And this is Tyrant Zero completely and fully carded up, let's say. Oh, this is going to be tricky to show. Let's just raise this up a bit. There you can kind of see. He's got his big dragon tail halo over his shoulders. He's got the dragon head poking out. It is completely ridiculous. Now, you might think I would hate this because it's about as superfluous as what's going on with Heavy Iron W, but I don't. One reason being the way, like, this robot is so bulky and so thick, like front to back thick, that the dragon doesn't add that much more. Like, proportionally, it does stick out a little bit further. Like, you can see, like, maybe this much dragon is sticking out. But, like, compared to everything else happening here, that's basically nothing. Whereas with Heavy Iron W, it felt like half of the entire width or depth of the figure was from that dragon head. And this also kind of nestles into what's already there a little bit, which I think works better. And then for the gigantic tail bits, which you can barely see from this angle, you don't miss those. There is no missing those. On Heavy Iron W, you couldn't really see the wings because they were so tiny and pointless. These are not tiny. Jury's out on whether or not they're pointless, but they are not tiny. This guy's not going to be on a shelf with this stuff attached, and you're not going to miss those up there. Like, you can kind of still make them out even now from this angle. I don't know, like, I thought I was going to not really feel the card integration with the fully combined mode, but no, I actually am feeling it a lot. It's very extra, but it's extra in a way that I think is really cool. So anyway, I think I'm done. I've gone on for long enough. This video is, the raw footage is an hour and a half. That's actually less time than I thought. I thought this was going to be like 2.5 hours of nonsense. But yeah, that's Tyrant Zero. And Tyrant Zero is utterly amazing and is not cheap. I highly recommend that if you are interested in this guy and you have the means, absolutely get him. But I also understand if you don't, because I barely had the means. It was pure luck that I managed to make this work. Pure luck and generosity. But like, I can't say it wasn't worth it. Yes, this is beyond a doubt the most expensive metal Cardbot figure. It's the most expensive Korean figure I've ever bought. And this is like a standalone thing. This isn't like a 5-robot combiner you can buy. Like, this is what it is. It's not multiple figures that are in like a gift box or something like they've done for other Korean transforming combiners in the past. This is like Blast Train dialed up to 1100, and I can't say you get what you pay for because there is a notable markup between the actual shelf price of this guy in Korea versus the US equivalent. But I can say with some confidence that if someone's charging $50 to ship this guy from Korea, I'm fairly certain they are not overcharging you on shipping. Because again, the box is gigantic, the figure is huge, and the figure is dense and heavy. When you add the dragon to it, it was already significantly heavier than Grand Blue Leon before, but now, this is like centerpiece worthy. I don't know, maybe it's hyperbolic to say, but in my mind at least, this kind of feels like the HasLab Unicron of metal Cardbots, except it's cheaper and better. It's a really cool set, and granted, a lot of the play features are a little bit silly, but it's a lot of stuff you can do with just the core robot before getting into the big combination. So like, there's a lot of thought and play here. You're not just buying a big robot, you're basically buying a playset. A big, heavy playset. And yeah, it absolutely would be better to not have to pay the kinds of money that this thing is currently going for, because it's kind of absurd. But I don't know, I can't be mad about it. Anyway, that's going to do it. Sorry if this is a bit rambly. It has been a minute since I sat down to record a proper video on a toy rather than doing like a Duck Tank Talk thing. But hopefully this is informative, went over enough stuff for folks. But with all of that out of the way, thank you everybody for watching. And what are your thoughts on Tyrant Zero here? Because I feel like for as majestic and incredibly just over the top as this looks in video, it probably still doesn't quite compare to handling this thing in person, where you can really feel the imposing heft of it all. But still, from what you've seen, and if you have your own, what are your thoughts? Feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and by the time this video goes up, maybe I'll have an idea of whether I'm going to start doing Nemesis Prime stuff outside of September. I don't know. At this point, right now, I can't say for sure what the next video is going to be, but there'll be a video next week, I can tell you that.